Hey guys, I'm Pixel Dan, and this is a review of the Star Wars Elite Series Captain Phasma figure. That's right, the new Elite Series is a line of die-cast metal action figures that are sold exclusively at the Disney Store. A lot of people got real excited when they saw the pictures of these released, and I knew that I had to grab at least one to check it out to find out how these are in action figure form. I went ahead and decided to get my favorite character, at least my favorite looking character, from the upcoming The Force Awakens film. So let's go ahead and check out Captain Phasma. Now, as you can see, the Elite Series figures come in really nice window box packaging. It's a very nice and fancy box. It's got kind of a light gray color scheme there, which has kind of got that die-cast metal-y feel to it. But there's also some really nice red foil kind of outlining the window box and going across the Star Wars logo at the bottom of the packaging. So the figure looks really nice in the package. The backside is a little bland. It's basically just some words that explains what the Elite Series is and gives us a brief description of the character that you'll find within the box. So let's go ahead and get Captain Phasma out of the packaging and take a closer look at her. Now, one thing you're going to notice right away when removing her from the box, in fact, you'll notice it while you're holding the box, there is a lot of weight to this action figure. Knowing that they were die-cast metal, I was very curious to see if that meant that parts of it were die-cast metal or if the entire figure was going to be made of die-cast. But as it turns out, the entire figure, all of the body, with the exception of maybe the cape here, of course, is made of a die-cast metal. And it's very solid feeling. So this is an incredibly weighted action figure. This thing feels like an articulated paperweight. That's how heavy it is. So it's really impressive and actually makes it feel quite special right out of the box. Now, the overall sculpt with this is very well done. As you can see, it's a very good likeness to the Captain Phasma character. So all in all, I feel like it's a really well-designed figure. It does have a nice silver palette there. It's a bit of a toned-down silver, so as you can see, it's not too metallic. I'm still waiting for a really awesome chromed-out Captain Phasma figure, because everything we've seen of her in the trailer so far show her being very shiny. And so far, all of the action figures are more of just kind of this toned-down silver in color. But still, it looks very nice. We've got some really great blacks seen on the helmet. Specifically, the eyes have a really nice glossy shine to them there. And just some really nice details all the way through and through. Now, most of the colors on here are nothing more than that silver and black. But that's exactly as it should be. With the cape there, we do have a little bit of extra color with that kind of a reddish maroon stripe going around the outside of the cape. For the most part, I'd say that the figure is very clean looking. The paint job is really nice on her, with the exception of that red striping on the cape. You can see it's a little sloppy. We've got some uneven lines going down here, and it's a little blotchy too, so it's definitely not perfect. But minor complaint there, because the rest of it does look rather nice. So let's go ahead and talk articulation on this figure, because I'm sure that's one thing that a lot of people are curious about. A lot of folks want to know if these are going to fit in with our Black Series figures from Hasbro, if they're going to replace those, and how that works. So let's talk articulation. That head does appear to be on a ball joint, so you can move the head left, right, up, and down. This is part of the figure that is made of a plastic, too. You'll notice that when moving it around. This doesn't feel like the same die-cast metal as the rest of the figure, but still looks really nice, blends in well, and very well articulated. The arms do have the ball-like hinges at the shoulders, so the arms can go outwards, but you can see that's as far as we can get them out. The shoulder armor does hinder that movement just a bit. Also, the cape that is around her neck is a pretty stiff and rigid cape, so that is going to get in the way of the arm articulation on the left arm since it's draped over the arm. And the cape is non-removable. As far as I can tell, this head does not come off the figure, which means that cape does not come off the figure. So I kind of wish this was a bit of a softer plastic. That way it didn't get in the way of the articulation too much, but honestly, when we get through this, you might find that that's not really going to matter all that much. And here's what I mean. The arms just have a single joint at the elbow, and then swivels at the wrists. There is, however, no articulation at the bicep, which means the arms can really only go up and down and slightly outwards and then bend at the elbow. This is going to pose problems when we get to her blaster in just a bit, where you're going to see that she's not really going to be able to hold onto the blaster the way we want her to. Other than that, she just has a side-to-side swivel at the waist there. Going to turn her at the waist. She does have the ball joints at the thighs, but that's as far out as the legs are going to spread, and then they just move forwards and backwards. Again, all of the sculpted armor bits are going to hinder your articulation, especially since this is die-cast metal. It's going to be a lot less flexible. So you don't get too wide of a range with the legs. You have standard single joints at the knees, which are actually above the knee pad there on the leg, and then the ankles just have the ability to move up and down, just a regular hinge joint, so no boot cut or anything like that. So as you can see, the articulation is decent, but it doesn't compare to the articulation that we get on the Black Series. The Black Series is going to be a lot more posable. The other thing, the ankles are a bit loose on this figure. When I stand her up, I do kind of have issues with the ankles buckling just a little bit. It's not too bad, and honestly, she stands fine. I am slightly worried that over time, with the weight of the figure, that might cause some problems. But we'll see. As of right now, she does stand fairly decent. One of the other things I want to point out, and luckily it's not too bad on Phasma because she's got this cape, but if you look at the back of the figure, you're going to notice that there are a lot of screw holes, and the screws are showing through. So I don't know, that might be something that bothers you if you're looking at the back of the figure. I've never really been a fan of exposed screws. I kind of wish that those were covered up, plugged somehow. But like I said, I guess with Phasma it's not terrible because the cape pretty much covers up those screws. Now, one of the things that is kind of nice is that she does come with an included stand. I would imagine all of the Elite Series figures come with this nice stand. It's plastic, straight black, has the Star Wars logo, has one peg on it, but that's always nice. I do always appreciate a nice figure stand. You can see that way it kind of keeps her balanced, and it just also helps with the display ability of the figure. And lastly, she includes her blaster. Now, the blaster's just done in plastic, so it's not metal like the rest of the figure, but it does have a really nice metallic silver paint deco with some black on there, so it matches up with the outfit very nicely. Both of her hands are molded so that she's got one trigger finger, so you can put this gun in either hand that you want to. It's a little loose fitting. I wish she had a bit of a tighter grip on it, but it's not too bad. You can see kind of flops around there, but you can get it locked in her hand. But with that articulation being lacking, those swivels at the biceps, no way to move her arms side to side, you can't do two-handed poses. See that? The arms are stiff. You're not going to be able to do any two-handed poses with that blaster. So I think that right there is my biggest complaint with this figure. I really wish, especially with Phasma here, that we could get some two-handed poses with that blaster. So let's go ahead and do some comparisons. A lot of people, aside from the articulation, want to see how this looks with the 6-inch Black Series figures. So here's Phasma standing alongside a First Order Stormtrooper and Kylo Ren from Hasbro's Black Series. Now, Hasbro's Black Series figures are in the 6-inch scale. The Elite Series actually stands 7.5 inches tall. So Phasma here, as you can see, is massive compared to those other figures. So they are not quite the same scale. And for fun, here she is standing alongside the 4-inch scale Captain Phasma, also released by Hasbro. So there you go, my friends. There is a look at the brand new Star Wars Elite Series Captain Phasma figure. I was really anxious to see how these turned out and how they compared to Hasbro's offerings, as I'm sure a lot of you have. So here's my final analysis on this. The articulation and the scale definitely don't match up with Star Wars Black, and not necessarily a replacement line if you're somebody who needs nicely articulated action figures. It's almost like comparing apples to oranges with these. These are in a larger scale, they don't have quite as much articulation, but they have a really nice display ability. They are very heavy with that great die-cast metal. The paint jobs looks nice. They almost look like these are more meant to be really fancy display pieces rather than action figures. And I do really like this figure. There is a few places where I wish it was a little bit better. I do wish she could at least hold on to the blaster with two hands. But regardless of that, I really like this. I think it's a really nice figure, and I'm glad that I picked this up. Now, will I be collecting all of the Elite Series figures? Probably not. I think that these are really nice, and honestly, I feel like the die-cast metal is going to suit characters like the droids and the troopers here more than it really would suit the human characters. But maybe that's something that you would be interested in, and I would say go for it. I do think that it still turned out really nice, and I'm glad that we have some different options for collecting new Star Wars action figures. So as I said in the beginning, these are sold exclusively at Disney stores and at DisneyStore.com, and they retail for $24.99. So happy hunting, my friends, and until next time.